Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Ellen Dow. I am the Educators Program Lead, and today we are doing our annual fall orientation for the Educators Program and Community. Really, this is an opportunity to learn about the different resources that the community has created over the past 3 years since we started, as well as learn any new updates about new materials that we have added to the program, as well as our newer initiatives as well. So I want to start first with asking everyone a question by giving you a poll, which now I have to pull up my poll. So I would like to know a little bit about you, and I have 4 questions. The first being, have you joined a KBase Educators call before? Have you used KBase or any of our resources, both for KBase in general, as well as anything from our educators program? I'd also love to learn about the student level that you teach and any classes you teach. And if there's something that's not in the poll that I have not encompassed, please throw those into the chat. Oh, cool. We have a first time for an educator's call, but we've used KBase. Oh, and we have a returnee from an educator's call. Excellent. Okay, cool. Wow. Everybody answered. Thank you so much. Okay, so it sounds like we have folks who have joined educators before, but most people first time, and a little mix of using KBase, but no one is using the educators resources yet. Mostly graduate and undergraduate students, and then teaching microbiology, some cures, and let us know as well the course that I didn't include. Let me know what that is in the chat. So I will end that poll. Oh, I can share the results too. I just recapped that for everybody. But we will start moving along. And okay, so part 1 of this call is our orientation to KBase, as well as a little intro into some of our educators materials. So I'm going to start with, I think everyone is familiar with KBase, but the quick recap of what KBase is that we are a community-driven research platform that is designed for systems biology research. So again, we are designed for research. It's a graphical user interface that is free and open access, including both data, access to data and software that enables users to analyze, share, and collaborate using the different data and tools on our system to help build increasingly realistic models for biological research. And who KBase is funded by is we're a part of the Department of Energy, Biological and Environmental Research program. And so where we fit into this program is we are much more of the data analysis and visualization. So programs like the Joint Genome, or user facilities like the Joint Genome Institute and the Environmental Molecular Science Laboratory and BER, the Structural Biology Resources. These are all places that can bring data in to KBase, and we enable users to analyze this data that the BER funds, as well as continue to help with publication. And so the different pieces of KBase, as I said, we integrate data, allow access to open software analysis tools, allow users to really create customized analyses and workflows, share these workflows with their collaborators, and then we also help publish results, which I'm going to cover some of our collaborations in a bit. And so really the customizable workflows within KBase Once you have your data, you can import it as well as export it from KBase. And then we have a lot of different software tools that have been wrapped as applications that enable users to analyze both the genomics, transcriptomics, like create metabolic models, analyze metagenomic data, and then scale up to more community scale models. And so KBase itself, if you're familiar with the layout of the narrative, it's a graphical user interface platform. And so it looks like this, and we'll take a look at a few of our different resources. I can turn my laser pointer on. I don't know if you can see this, but hopefully you can. So at top, there's the toolbar, and then on the left-hand side, you have the data panel and then the apps panel. So those are all the different resources and tools. And then on the left-hand side is where the workflow is. So you have opportunities to add markdown cells. So this is enabling documentation. You can add your own code cells to customize your workflow. And then we have the ability, to add soft analysis tools through apps, and then as well as view data through the data object viewer. And so our team consists of folks across the US, across a few different national laboratories, including Berkeley Lab, where I am based in California. We also have members at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, Argonne, and Brookhaven. And so I have one more question for everybody, and that is, why are you here? So I have a few questions on what you're looking to do with your students. I believe this is multiple choice, so you can tell us if you're looking for research experience, increasing engagement, investments, student investment in the projects they're working with, publishing with students, or if something else, you can let me know in the chat. Mostly research experience as well as publication with students. Okay, I'm excited to show you the MLA templates and what we've been working on for that. Let me look at our results. So the next part I want to dive into is more of the educators program itself. So what is this program and what does it offer? So the KBase Educators program is based on our community of instructors who use KBase to teach. Now, the program itself offers different educational resources that have been developed by our community members, and they've been broken out into working groups, and they have mostly built out different teaching workflows, which members of the community can continue to adapt, as well as contribute and share these with fellow members. And a big purpose of this is to enable instructors to more easily use KBase and learn how to use KBase with their students, and teach their students about open science and how to collaborate. Now, the community itself is made up of educators of all levels. I think here we had educators who teach mostly graduate students and undergraduate students, but we also have instructors that teach high school students. We have postdocs, we have graduate students teaching undergraduates, and a lot of different levels of instructors. And as we also showed, instructors teach a lot of different courses, whether it's molecular biology, microbiology, bioinformatics, general biology. There are a lot of different courses that instructors belonging to our that instructors teach who belong to our community. And so one of the primary resources that we've created are these teaching workflows. And so these workflows have taken larger biological concepts such as genomics, metagenomics, phylogenetics, metabolic modeling, pangenomes, transcriptomics, taking these really large conceptual research workflows and broken them into modules using the narrative interface. So this takes the concept of genomics and breaks it down into assembling a genome as a singular unit, annotation as a singular unit, and then flowing into analysis and more genome comparison. And so these modules allow instructors to kind of take each of these different workflows and use them with their students as a single lab experience or as part of their lecture. And all of these narratives are customizable. So you can go in, make a copy and edit as you need for your students for their levels. You can also take these narratives and adapt them with your students to then, allow them to share data as well as compare across the different workflows to see if they're coming up with the same results. And then how to access these narratives and these different resources. Make sure that you have signed up, have a KBase account. So you'll need to go to kbase.us. You can log in using Orchid or Google, and you will go to the top right-hand corner where it says sign up, or there will be the stacked hamburger menu, which you will open up, and then you'll click sign up or log in. We have some great documentation that walks you through how to do this. That is the step-by-step sign-up guide, and this demonstrates every step that you need to do to start your KBase account. Once you have gone through and you have your KBase account, you can then request to join the KBase Educators org. So you log into KBase, and educators is one of the great keywords. You'll have to make sure that you toggle to searching all organizations. It does automatically filter to just the organizations you already belong to. So make sure you toggle to all orgs and then request to join. Let me know once you've requested to join. You can either email the KBase team at engage@kbase.us. Let us know that you want to join the community. Please include your KBase username and any information that can help us support you, such as like what you're teaching, when you're teaching, what support you might need. And then also let us know if you would like to join our Slack workspace for educators. We have a lot of really fun community pieces in there. And so the organization itself, this is what the org looks like inside. So you'll request, and then once you've requested, I will let you into the org. Just a little sneak peek with all the narratives and resources we have in here. So I would like to just take a moment, and especially if you decide that you wanted to join the org right now, and ask our community if there is anything in particular that they want to work on, or they want to learn about today. If there's any specific workflows that you were interested in, you can let me know in the chat. Alicia also said that she can add you if you have requested to join now. Okay, well, I will keep going, and I'll take another moment. Meta barcoding workflow. I don't know if we have a meta barcoding workflow. Okay, assembly, annotation, transcriptomics. Okay, awesome. I can definitely demo that. Oh yeah, Veronica, I will get to your question at the end, but yes, students can join the narratives. So if students have a KBase account, they can access narratives that you share with them. The educators org is just for educators, so that's why you let me know that you've requested to join. But students aren't necessarily allowed in there, but then educators can go and edit and create what they, edit the narratives how they want to, and I'll demonstrate how to do that. Right. So once you have gotten into the organization, you can see that there are a lot of different narratives across the different workflows, or like across all these different topics. You will need to click on you'll have like a little button that says click for view access. If you click that, then you can actually go in and open these narratives, such as this one, by then clicking on the name. One of the handy narratives that I suggest to look at first is our KBase Educators Concept Overview. This includes all of the different narratives that we have included from genomics, metagenomics, metabolic modeling, and genomes, transcriptomics, and phylogenetics. And so we have our beautiful graphic there of the workflows, and then we have all our different concepts. And from each of these concepts, you can then click on the different modules. So genomics, we have the assembly, annotation, analysis, and comparative genomics. So if I was to click on this genome assembly, that would then open the genome module part 1, which is assembly, that my colleague Steve Filler, which is one of our educators in our community, put together. And so this walks through, you have at the top a lot of the different pieces about the audience and who this was written for, what the learning goals are, some about more of the topics that are covered, so genome sequencing, and then a description of this activity and some of the vocabulary or terminology that is used. And so within this module, we have like know your organism, so it talks about what organism we're going through. Then it walks through shotgun sequencing, what that is for students. This really allows for some background and demonstrates how you can use Markdown to provide documentation and support for your students. And then this goes through a little bit more of the finessing on like how to import reads into KBase. And then you can see here when it has a task for the students to go through and analyze the output. It gives them a question to answer in class, which has been highlighted in that lime green color. And you can see that this goes through quality control with trimming for the assembly, ask what for the reads, and then goes through actual assembly and how to assemble these reads before you go through to annotation. And so from assembly, you can either click there on the bottom link, which will open up. You could also go back to the overview and click on this button for the annotation, and that will take you to part 2. And then again, you can see it has a similar model where we have setting the context for this particular module, and then goes through with some tasks for students outlining how to go through and do these different tasks. Now we have these instructor versions. We also have student versions that do not have, that have the original set of data, but won't have any new sets of data. So that is, so those are already made for a few of the modules, such as this one with genome, with the genomics, and they are all labeled as student. So you can see here we have genome module 1, assembly for the students. And we have that for genomics, phylogenomics, metagenomics. So those are all options that you can go through, make copies, and go through there. And if you have any questions, once I go through each of these, I'll address your questions, but you can put them in the Q&A document. I think Alicia shared that in the chat.
Ellen, most people are just using the Zoom chats and copying them over there, so we should be
Okay. Good. Okay, thank you. So those are our different, that's one example of a workflow, and that goes all the way through to comparing genomes. In addition to all of these different concept workflows, we do have transcriptomics for using RNA-seq. That's a newer one that was added last year by one of our community members. So you can check that one out. I'll demonstrate some of our narratives in Spanish. And then for additional resources, we have a module skeleton that goes over how to format the narrative for teaching. And then you can also access our landing page, our handbook, documentation site, our YouTube channel, all from this one narrative. So the module skeleton itself, this is very much it has a similar model to the different modules. It also has a guide for Markdown. So if you're looking to add a little pizzazz to your teaching narratives, this demonstrates how to use Markdown language. So if you were to make a copy of this, so if you look, I've toggled it so I can only view it. You would click this button up top to make a copy. Then you can change the name to whatever you want to, and you create a copy, and this would spin up a new version that you can start editing yourself. So it would look like this once you're able to edit it with a little pencil up there. Once you are in edit mode, you can see that we have this text, we have some colored text, but what does that look like behind the scenes? If you double click on the Markdown cells, this exposes the Markdown language or the HTML language that is used. So you can see how, the different color codes are used and how to put images in or make image maps within each of these narratives. And then this also walks through, a little bit about some suggestions on how to format your narratives, especially if you're starting with a totally new workflow, going through how that sample was processed so far, what the data actually is, exploring the data using analysis tools, and then going through it to analyze the results and reflecting and connecting back to the importance of what this means. And this also has a nice GIF for adding data and a few other pieces on you can actually see what color was used for the results questions. You can edit that as you would like to. And so that is one option. Editing. So in addition to all these resources that are within the educators organization on KBase, we also have some additional resources outside, and that includes our KBase educators landing page. So you have a quick link here to the org if you have joined. We also have a few other resources like our handbook, which is a lot of special, which is mostly best practices. This also includes how to join the org, how to join our Slack group, getting started, accessing documentation, and then we have some best practices. So if you're interested in creating an organization for your class, it walks through exactly how to create an organization. It talks about viewing narratives in the org. So I mentioned that click for view access. If you have not already viewed the narrative yet, you'll need to click that. It also goes through copying and sharing and setting up narratives for your course, along with planning, Then we additionally have some contribution guides for working groups if you're interested in working with members of the community to create new resources and what that looks like. There's a lot of really great tips, tricks in there. We also have a link to our YouTube playlist. So these are all webinars or different workshops that we've done for educators. Or like today, we have a fall orientation. We also have a publication that you can access from our webpage and some highlights and additionally a few blogs on our organization, on the KBase Educators Program and how we got started. Those are all of the items that exist, how to access them, how to start making copies and editing any narratives that you would like to edit. And then we have some newer materials, which includes our teaching narratives in Spanish. So you can access these both from the concept overview narrative, we have narratives in Spanish. We also have a specific workflow that demonstrates these the current materials that we already have. So right now you can see we've started with genomics, metagenomics, and then we have 2 of the 3 pangenomic narratives available. And all of these are accessible from this landing page. One example of this is here we have the first assembly, genome assembly narrative. And so all the markdown has been translated into Spanish. And then we also have a few additional pieces in the markdown that explains what some of the different tools and apps do that are in or typically are in English because the markdown pieces are the ones that have been translated. So I covered the narratives in Spanish. And then another piece we have are the MRA templates. So these, so with creating a narrative, you can make that narrative public once you are ready to share that analysis with the world. And this, once you've made it public, you can actually generate a static narrative that can be shared outside and accessed outside of KBase. If you let us know, we can get a digital object identifier associated with your static narrative that will be able to link to your publications. And we have a specific template with the as a partnership with the American Society for Microbiology resource announcements for both isolate and genome announcements. So Alicia just shared the links to these templates in the chat. These are primarily, you have the MRA genome announcement. This is the isolate version. So this goes through with all of the background information on how to use this template, why to use this template, best practices, and it really walks through the checklist that you would go through when you were creating an MRA announcement. So you have all the author checklist. It goes through the information on where the sample was collected, how it was isolated for an isolate, all of the genome sequencing, the information to include, and then walks through the different steps. So going through quality control, assembly annotation, taxonomic identification. And similarly with the metagenome assembled genomes or MAGs, it goes through a similar method of any background information, title, abstract, introduction, Again, how the experiment and sampling was conducted, and then how the genome was actually assembled. So these are our new materials between both the Spanish narratives and the templates. So I was curious to know from everybody what from these you might think might be most helpful. I know I had seen some with assembly, annotation. I didn't show the transcriptomics, so we have those workflows as well. But was there anything from here that struck you as super helpful? Oh, nice. Pangenome. Okay, Veronica, have you used the MRA templates for any classes yet? Okay, not yet. We have had some instructors use them, so that's great. Thank you for your feedback. You'll have to let us know how that goes and keep us updated so we can get you a DOI for your students. So I do want to share a newer initiative that we're also working on with the KBase Educators program. So we have a new workforce development program that we just started. We have received funding from the National Science Foundation through a research coordination network undergraduate biology education incubator. And currently we are working with a large steering committee and working groups to develop this modular research workflow that takes students through the entire research process of developing a research question and hypothesis, actually going out and sampling, creating their experiment or designing their experiment, how they're going to sample, how to collect sample metadata, why it's important to collect in generating findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data, and then going through sample processing. So whether that's an isolate or a metagenome, and then of course, analyzing the data in KBase using these narratives, and then in our partnership with MRA, publishing these narratives and ensuring that the students receive credit for their contributions. In designing this modularized program, we are thinking about how what the barriers to entry and challenges are at each different stage of the program, whether that is lab space, time and energy of the instructor, capacity, as well as student interest. So ensuring that the students are engaged throughout the whole program. So this is one of our newer efforts, and we're excited to pilot some of these newer modules and get feedback over this next year. And then just a quick recap on resources. So we have our educators landing page. This will take you to both of the educators org, the handbook, our YouTube playlist with all our educator pages. Of course, there's kbase.us. We have our documentation site, which will walk you through everything you need to do step by step. I showed that sign in, login page, but we also have breakdowns of different apps and tools you can use, how to go through analysis workflows. And then we also have our help board in case you run into larger problems. So what I'm going to do now is open it for questions, and I will stop recording.
Thanks for watching this webinar. For more webinars and tutorials, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see announcements for upcoming webinars and recordings for previous webinars on our website at kbase.us/learn. Let us know in the comments what content you'd like to see in future webinars. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at DOE-KBase. And if you have questions or encounter an error when using KBase, please contact the help desk.